Hello friends, and welcome back to our homestead. Today I'm visiting my papa's property to harvest some red clover. Okay, I have some red clover on in my backyard, but my goats already got to it and they ate it all. Animals, cattle, sheep, goats, they love clover. Okay, all the ruminant animals, large animals, they like clover. It's very nutritional for them. I have lots of white clover growing on my property, and that is a great little pollinator for bees. Bees love to pollinate white clover, but red clover, it's usually big bumblebees pollinate, okay? Because the bees, the regular bees, the honeybees, unable to reach deep enough into the clover. But the bumblebee has a bigger, it's not a beak, what's the name of it? I can't think of it. But they have it much longer and they can go deeper and get the nectar out of red clover. Hummingbirds also love red clover. So I am here on the big open field, and I'm gonna gather some red clover because it is medicinal. Yes, the leaves you can cook, the flowers can go into your salads, decorate your cakes, and petals can go into batter and you can make pancakes and muffins. They're sweet to taste. I remember as a kid going in the fields and eating them and trying to suck all the little succulents out of them because they sweet nectar inside. But I'm going to be gathering them mainly for the medicinal purposes. So it's a hot, humid day today. I go late morning to harvest all of my wild herbs because in the morning they still have lots of dew on them, but towards the late morning, towards noontime, all of the dew is gone, dried up, and it's perfect time to collect your clover. All right. I try not to collect anything later in the evening because just like us humans, plants also have a circadian rhythm. They wake up and at a certain time they go to sleep. They close the shop for the day. So the most nutrient dense time for any plant, herbal plant for harvesting is late morning all the way up until 2, 3, maybe even 4 p.m., but nothing after that. So that's a perfect window, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. to harvest your wild herbs. And that's exactly what we're doing today. So I'm going to be harvesting mostly just the floral part, and then I'll bring them home and I'll show you what I'm going to be doing with these beautiful, they're so fragrant, red clover. Some of the clover already blossomed out and it's turning brown, but there's plenty still that is blossoming nice and pink color, and that's what I'm going to be harvesting today. I like to go and harvest in a very clean ecological places, far away from the road, far away from places where dogs walk and possibly can contaminate my herbal collection flowers. So I'm here on a beautiful field where it's nice and quiet, far away from any kind of noise. I'm here to enjoy the nature and harvest the flowers. In case you're wondering, there's still plenty more for all the hummingbirds, for all the bumblebees. There's plenty left on the field. Okay friends, so I harvested a little pile of red clover and now I'm on my way home to process them further. All right, so I put them on a towel just for them to relax for about an hour or two, and it's sitting on my porch outside on the table, and if there's any insects in here, they'll have a chance to run away, fly away, crawl away if they want to. This is what my babushka taught me a long time ago, that when you bring wild herbs home, we're gonna let them rest on a towel for an hour or two before we do anything with them, just to allow all the bugs to kind of like walk away and protect themselves. Okay, so my flowers have been sitting here on the towel for about an hour, and I've noticed that bugs have run away, and it's time for me to do the next step. All right, so let's talk about red clover. Red clover is a very fragrant, mild, pink, purple, magenta color flowers. And it's best to be picked in its prime when they are the best looking flowers such as this. So what am I going to be using it for? I'm going to be making two different preparations. One of them is going to be a tincture. So I'm going to be putting things into a little jar, and it's going to sit here for about 8 weeks. I'm going to make a small amount. I can break them up if I want to, or I can just put a whole flower in there. I'm not going to remove the greens. I'm not worried. I'm going to leave them right on. So I'm just going to fill up my little jar. Okay, I'm going to push them because they're very fluffy, so I'm just going to push them down a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to add 100 proof vodka, and I have 100 proof vodka because 100 proof vodka has 50% water and 50% alcohol. Okay, so because this is a fresh plant material, I like to use 100 proof vodka, and then I don't do any math. I don't weigh anything. I don't measure anything. I'm literally eyeballing it. So all I'm doing is just, I'm gonna put them in here, and I'm gonna make a tincture out of it. And this tincture is gonna be used medicinally later, after about 8 weeks. I'm gonna put this jar in my pantry, okay, and I'm gonna shake it every day for a week, and then after that I'm gonna shake it maybe once or twice a week until full 8 weeks is done. All right, so let me cover everything with alcohol. I need to make sure that everything is covered, and it's gonna sit and do its thing. Like let all those bubbles come up. That means all those empty spaces are filling up with alcohol. I'm gonna make sure I'm all the way to the top because I don't want any oxidation to happen. And the extraction is gonna start working, okay? And the tincture is gonna be used medicinally. So let's talk about how medicinally it's gonna be used, okay? Oh, it's leaking a little bit. It didn't close very well. All right, so I need to put a label on it so I don't forget what's in here. I'm gonna say it's red clover, the date I harvested, that it's sitting in 100 proof vodka, and I'm gonna say when it's ready to be strained, and it's gonna be strained in 8 weeks. Okay, 8 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, but I usually do 8 weeks. All right, so this is gonna go in my pantry. So the tincture is cooking, and I'm not gonna make a lot because tincture is, you really use them in droppers, so you don't use a lot. So I'm gonna be putting here. The rest, my friends, is gonna be for tea. And yes, I can go ahead and just put it on a cookie sheet and dry it in my oven at a very low temperature, or I can put it in my dehydrator and dehydrate it slowly on herb setting. But it's not going to be as good as if it was fermented clover. So fermented clover, and I do that with other herbs as well. And I'm going to put links to how I ferment stinging nettle, red raspberry leaf. When you ferment a leaf or a flower, okay, it allows to go an extra step where the cellular structure is broken down, and all of these volatile oils and all of these medicinal properties become more available to us, and we absorb them way better if it was just dried in a dehydrator and that's it, is one step. So I'm gonna do this in a kind of like in a fast way to ferment them. And there are many ways of fermenting your herbal teas, but I'm gonna do the easiest, the simplest way, and I would love to share that with you. All right, so for that, I'm gonna need a bag, and I have a freezer safe plastic bag. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put all of these beautiful flowers right in here, okay? Just like this. Notice I didn't wash them. I did not wash them because they were collected in a very clean environmental place. I make sure I'm far away from the road. I make sure I'm far away from any kind of trampling of, dogs or anything else where there can be accidental contamination. And because they're not on the ground, they're above ground, I am not washing them. If you want to wash them and spin them in a salad spinner and dry them, you can go ahead and do that, but I'm not doing it. I've never done it. My babushka taught me to do this way, and I'm gonna do the same way as well. This is my method of preserving herbal flowers, herbal preparations for tea. All right, so I'm gonna put everything in a Ziploc bag, okay? And I'm gonna put it in the freezer overnight. Why am I putting it in the freezer overnight? Because the shock of a cold temperature is going to make these flowers, these leaves, these stems, everything break down much faster, okay? They're gonna freeze overnight. And then tomorrow morning, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do, because the tea that is fermented comes out much richer, deeper color, more fragrant, and more medicinal for us. So all I'm doing right now is I'm just putting it all in a bag, all of my beautiful flowers, and it's gonna go in the freezer, okay? All right, so what is the clover, red clover specifically, is good for, okay? I opened up a few of my herbal books and I started looking into what does the research say. Because traditional medicine, traditional herbal medicine, clover's been used for many, many years. I mean, it's been way back, okay? Even back in the Roman Empire time. So I'm just squeezing the air out of it. And it's gonna go in the freezer. In the Roman Empire time, okay, clover, red clover was used as a infusion, a strong tea to cure kidney stones. It's a mild diuretic. Now, I'm not going to claim that's a cure for anything, but it's definitely a good support for your body to fight certain things, okay? So, it is a blood cleanser tonic. So what does that mean? That means if somebody has psoriasis, eczema, any kind of patches on their skin, it's often used in tea to do the cleaning of their skin, okay? Also, it can be used as a lymph drainage tonic as well, allowing your own body to promote cleansing of the lymph system, again, as a blood purification, okay? So this is good as part of the detox process. Literature also talks about how red clover is an aid to female health. So back in 1930s or 1940s, I can't remember, they started using red clover medicinally to assist in fight against female cancer of breast and ovarian cancer. Why? Because red clover is a very mild phytoestrogen. Okay, so it will take up the estrogen receptor sites, not allowing the cancer that is estrogen-driven cancers to kind of take hold of that female cancer situation, and this will occupy those receptors, allowing the body to heal. Also, women who are perimenopausal and menopausal age, often who have hot flushes, sleep disturbances, red clover is also an aid Why? Because red clover is that very mild, extremely mild, not like soy, very mild phytoestrogen as well, that it can assist when there is no more estrogen in a body. And again, it can help with hot flashes, night sweats, that sort of thing. I found that some literature says that red clover can be added to a bunch of infusions, like as a bouquet of herbs for to aid strong bones in females in postmenopausal period of life, because it's going to aid calcium absorption, making bones stronger, because it's something that postmenopausal women struggle with, is osteopenia, and that's what it can help with stronger bones. Tinctures are often used for the lymph drainage, so swelling or lymph swelling. This is used as a blood purification aid as well, okay? But it's going to take about 8 weeks for this tincture to develop properly, at which point, after 8 weeks, I'm going to strain it, squeeze everything out of it through a cheesecloth, and put it in a dark dropper bottle with drops. So how much, people always ask me, so how much should I take? Well, if it's a tea, you can drink it as tea about 2 to 3 times a day if you need to, and you can put about a dried tablespoon of herb into a cup of water and steep it for about 15-20 minutes. That's how I like to do it, okay? And you can have 1, 2, or even 3 cups a day. It's generally safe herb to use, and it's very fragrant and it's very mild. I remember growing up, when anytime anybody had a cold or flu, red clover came out. So mama, babushka always made tea for us in the winter if someone had bronchitis, cough, whooping cough, cold, fever, because it helps you to kind of fight that sort of ailment. That's what the red clover was used for. So it's not just the phytoestrogens, as menopausal, perimenopausal women, and not just for lymph drainage, but also to fight fever, cough, whooping cough, bronchitis. All right, so that's been often used. Okay, tinctures. How much to use tincture? So right now I am referring to a book. I'm referring to a book by Maria Noel Groves. She's a best-selling author in herbal world. Her book that is called Grow Your Own Herbal Remedies. She talks about red clover, and she says which parts can be used. The parts can be used with the flower head, which we have right here, with top 3 leaves. And that's why I did not remove those little leaves that are at the top, on top around the crown of the head of the flower. I left it on, it's fine. And then tinctures. She's talking about tinctures. Tincture, 1 to 5 mLs, 1 to 3 times daily on its own, or it can be in a formula with other herbs. So what other herbs can it be combined with to aid and balance your health? I've mentioned before that these beautiful petals are actually a little sweet. And if you pull on them and you can suck right on the tip, the white tip that's inside, it has a very mild sweetness. And as kids, growing up in a former Soviet Union, sugar was not easy to come by. So we would be walking through the fields and picking them and like sucking in them for sweetness. I know, what a memory. But anyway, this can be pulled apart, okay, pulled apart just like this, here. And it can be placed in pancakes, in salads, in muffins, as not just as decorative, but also they add nice mild flavor. All right, so this is gonna go in the freezer right now, and I will show you what I'm gonna do with it tomorrow morning. For the next step, I'm gonna need a jar, a very nice clean jar, a cover, and some sort of a mallet or something like that. Why? Because now these flowers, they're frozen and they're very pliable. It's very easy to squish them and break down the little cell membranes. Some people in my culture, my Slavic culture, people actually put them in a meat grinder to pulverize them, kind of to break them down, but I don't find it necessary. I just do it by hand, and then I do this. Just push them down, and that helps to break down the cellular structure of these plants, of these flowers, making all of the medicinal and beneficial components to become bioavailable. And that's what we're doing this for. I mean, I know that many of my friends who are struggling with perimenopausal, menopausal symptoms find this tea very, very beneficial, and you can make a beautiful infusion tea that is so medicinal. And this is all I'm doing. And I'm going to do this with all of these flowers until, oh, I took too much. So I'm just going to, again, break them down, squish them. Okay. And I'm one-handed here. And just push them down, break them down. And this is a very important part of the fermentation process. All right. So let me just keep working on all of this. Okay, it's all here. Now I'm just gonna put a cover on. All right, this is gonna sit on my counter for the next 3 days, and I'm gonna check on it. I'm gonna open it. Oh, smells so good. I'm gonna smell it, and I'm gonna gauge it if it's ready for the next step, which is the drying step. I made sure that my hands were clean, the jar was clean, because I don't want to see any mold in it, okay? I don't want to see any kind of like fuzzy stuff growing. I want healthy fermentation when the natural probiotics begin to develop while they're fermenting the flowers. The natural bacteria begins to work and break down the cells, right? That's what we're looking for. So look how beautiful colors that I have here. Isn't that beautiful? So it's going to sit and it's going to do its thing for the next 3 days. I will check on it every day. I want to make sure that it's nice and healthy. All right, friends, I will see you in 3 days. All right, 3 days later, 72 hours. As soon as I pop the cover open, I get the aroma of fermentation. I can definitely smell it. Look, they changed color. It got a little darker. And now it's time to put it in the dehydrator. So I have these dehydrating trays. Oh, I think I probably should grab a spoon. Hold on a second. Something to scoop it with. I'm gonna put it on the dehydrating tray. So they look good. One of the things I was mentioning before, we need to make sure that they're not moldy or anything like that, and they're not, and they are perfect. Just exactly what they're supposed to be. So they froze, which helped them to break the cellular structure. Now I'm gonna spread them evenly, and they fermented for 3 days, which is 72 hours. And now they are very fragrant and delicious. So they're gonna make a nice and dark tea, and all of the elements gonna become very bioavailable. All right, so how long to dehydrate? I'm gonna keep checking on it every few hours because I don't want them to get cooked. I just want them to ferment. So let me spread it out evenly. I think it's too much for one tray. I'm gonna put some on the other tray. Oh, it smells good. All right, so it goes into the dehydrator on a setting for herbs. And I'm gonna keep checking on it until they're nice and crispy dry. 12 hours later, so I put them overnight to dehydrate in my dehydrator, and they came out nice and dry and crispy. Look at that. Do you hear that sound? They're very, very dry. So now I'm going to be putting them into a storage container. And I like always to, not just to put what's inside, but I also put quickly, what it's used for. So in case somebody else other than myself goes into my apothecary, and they will know what to use red clovers for. Okay, so I'm gonna put them in there, and it's gonna be stored in my dried place far away from the sunlight, and that's where I keep all of my herbs. On this note, friends, I hope you are encouraged to harvest and go forage for natural remedies. So be encouraged and try something new.